organic collard greens here. I like buying the local collard greens rather than the ones that you can get like in the grocery stores, because these tend to be grown in better soil and they taste a little better. Plus, you know, with them being grown organically, it's a little healthier for you. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to have to wash these. These look pretty clean, but one thing about collard greens, when you think you got them clean, rinse them about 2 more times. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rinse them off, and I'm going to put them in this tub over here with a big bunch of water. And by doing this in small batches, I can look through and find things like that I don't want. And anyway, I'll just keep doing this. I'm going to wash these things, put them in the water, let them soak for a little bit, rinse them off. I'm going to do this 3 times to make sure they're nice and clean, because you don't want gritty greens. That's nasty. Alright, I got these things washed out real good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take any of the, I'm going to start putting them back in here. I've rinsed this off. It's all nice and clean. These weren't too sandy, so that's not too bad. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the big pieces, I'm just going to kind of tear them up a little bit. Now, I use this same process no matter what kind of green I'm cooking. I mean, my grandmother taught me that. When you go to her house and there'd be a pot of greens on the stove, you ask her what was in it, she'd say a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, she'd have collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, all in the same pot. She'd have a pot of greens going for a long time, just adding to it what she picked out of the garden that day or whatever somebody brought her. So anyway, I'm going to get these kind of torn up a little bit, and I'm back with you. One thing I almost forgot to mention, you should tear out any of these big thick stems. I don't know, people don't like eating those. Horses like them, but people don't. Okay, for my greens, I want some kind of smoked meat. I prefer pork, but you can also use like a chicken, smoked turkey, anything like that. Now this happens to be hog jowl, which you may have seen me use that in the black eyed peas. Just the other piece of this. Now with this, what little bit of fat is there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use it I'm going to go ahead and use it. Just dice everything up, and then I'll just put this in a hot pan and render it out. Okay, so let's get started cooking here. We're going to take our smoked pork. Now you can just use bacon. Bacon works good also. Looks like I might need to put just a little oil in there just to kind of get things started. I don't want to put too much in there because that's going to cook out some fat. Just a little bit there. Go ahead and we're going to throw in a handful of diced up onion. Let's go ahead and throw the rest of that in there. And we're going to cook this down a little bit. Alright. Let's go ahead and start adding some greens to this. And we'll just keep adding greens as we go along. Yeah, I like to kind of saute the greens a little bit before I start stewing them. I don't know. I think it just gives you a nice, I don't know, sweetness or something. Anyway, keep adding these greens. Okay, so now here's the last little bit of our greens. And you can see they have cooked down a lot. You think you have enough greens to feed an army and you wind up with a single serving. Anyway, we're just going to work the rest of these in. Anyway, my pan's getting a little dry. It got dry earlier in the cooking. Anytime it gets dry, just hit it with a little bit of chicken stock. and then that'll give you something that keeps the stuff from burning on the bottom. We don't want to do that. Anyway, right now, what I want to do, I'll put some chicken stock in here. My grandma just used water, but I've got some chicken stock. I'm going to use that. Scrape up any brown bits in the pan. Now, I'm going to put a little bit more chicken stock in here. Now, I don't have a very good lid for this, but anyway, that ought to be enough chicken stock. And we're going to put this lid on here. And we're going to try to cook those things until they're nice and tender. Okay, we need to these are cooking pretty good, but I need to season them up a little bit. Now that they've cooked down, I can kind of see what kind of volume I'm working with. Put a little salt on them. A little bit of black pepper. We'll give this a stir. Now the chicken stock I used was like a no sodium stock. So if you use the regular chicken stock, you won't have to put as much salt in there. Anyway, we're going to let these cook a little more. They're getting close to being done. Well, okay. Now you can keep cooking these and keep cooking them. In fact, to be honest, they're actually better off. They taste better the next day. And if you make big batches, you can cook them 3-4 days in a row. It seems like they just get better and better. But these are basically done. And just so you know, this liquid down here, you want a little bit of that. That's called pot liquor. I'm sure somebody's going to comment if I don't say anything about it. But anyway, that's a nice bowl of greens. So, let's see how they taste. Yeah, that's good.